He's carrying
let's go
a
and watch the
warthog.
caretakers in action.
Right, okay. Look at this!
Well, as you can see, those caretakers don't hang about. They'll move those animals to their destination as fast as possible. Of course,
He's
normally you'd have
carrying
to place the
a
animals into
warthog. That is the
quarantine
most
before
funniest
moving
thing
them
I think
into a
I've ever
habitat.
seen in my life.
But I am...
Okay, guys, here we go. It's Planet Zoo Console Edition. I haven't played this yet, so I'm looking forward to actually seeing how this goes. I think it's a really good game. Oh wow, look at that.
Heyo at Hematu. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I have a habit of slipping back into the Planko language. It's good to finally meet you in person. I'm Bernard, although I insist you call me Bernie. The only person who calls me Bernard is my wife. And even then, only when I've tracked elephant dung into the carpets. As you know, I own several zoos, but I always like to show people the ropes here at my home. This is the
It looks like guys are going to have to go through a little tutorial
and a source
first.
of great pride for me. And
Gulpy,
pride,
which is
thanks to
in
a lion
Planet
breeding
Coaster,
program
and
we
Chili
ran in
Beef,
the
of
80s.
course.
But we're in the middle of a big renovation.
If you guys are familiar with this sort of series, you'll know there's Planet Coaster and Planet
had to
Zoo.
retire after developing a fur allergy. Poor devil kept sneezing his dentures into the lion habitat. So, it's up to you to finish everything off. Don't worry, though. I'm not completely throwing you into the deep end. My head keeper, Nancy Jones, will be lending a helping hand. Oh, she's a hard worker, and she'll expect you to be too. But I'm sure you'll get along like a house on fire, or even better, one that isn't on fire. Less shouting that way.
Hello
Beautiful
there.
graphics.
From that rosy, fresh face of yours, I'm guessing you're Bernie's new hire. Good. Now, I hope you're ready to ditch your diploma because we're about to get really hands-on. But before we begin the real work, how about we familiarize you with the zoo by learning how to fly around it and visiting some of our beautiful animals.
Okay, so it's
We'll
L1 to
start by
zoom out,
popping
and it's
over
like
and having a look-see
R1
at the
to
grizzly
zoom
bears in
in.
their habitat. Did you know that grizzly bears, also known as Ursus arctos horribilis, can hibernate for up to 7 months a year? Oh, but then again, given the chance, I think a lot of people would do that too.
Oh! You can actually go into
Select one of the
cinematic
bears
mode
and
of the
you'll bring
bears.
up its information
Oh, that's
panel.
cool. That's really cool.
See, now this is a fantastic way to get a close look at your animals. Okay, when you're ready, let's pop over to the other side of the zoo and take a look at the lions. I've marked their location for you to find.
Okay, let's have a look at the West African lion enclosure then, which is probably going to be on this side of the map. There it is.
Panthera leo leo, or the West African lion to you and me. Lions are the most social of the big cats, and there can be as many as 40 lions in a pride. Although prides of
40?
that size are pretty rare. As Bernie would say, those lions are awesome, which is precisely why I handle the training instead these days. Anyway, how about we get started on those objectives? Come on, let's head over to an empty habitat and see what needs doing there.
Ah, here we are.
As you can see, it's a lovely space for animals, but it's missing a certain something. Well, two somethings. Warthogs. So I'd like you to adopt a pair of them. To adopt animals, we need to open the animal market, which is in the animal trading section.
Oh yeah, as you can see, it's very similar. Same concept.
There
Oh.
we are. A pair
Well,
of perfectly splendid warthogs for our zoo. Just select them
Oh, I take
and
it we
choose
just press adopt.
Normally, the animal
then
exchange would be
sent to
full
zoo,
of animals.
I would imagine.
But I've emptied out the market while you learn how it works. The last thing I need is you accidentally ordering a dozen elephants. When you adopt an animal, it's automatically placed in the trade centre, where they're held until you're ready to move them into their habitat, which, as it happens, you are. So how about you move them into their new home?
Where do they actually come in? They come in.
When you ask for an animal to be moved into a habitat, your caretakers will go to the trade centre, collect your animal, and deliver them to your selected habitat. I've marked the trade centre's location.
He's carrying
so let's go
a
and watch
warthog.
the caretakers in action.
Right, okay. Look at this!
Well, as you can see, those caretakers don't hang about. They'll move those animals to their destination as fast as possible. Of course,
He's
normally you'd
carrying
have to place the
a
animals into
warthog.
quarantine
That is the most
before
funniest
moving
thing I
them
think
into a
I've ever
habitat.
seen in my life.
But I am assured by a person of good standing that these warthogs are in the very rudest of health. Right, let's get the
There he is.
warthog's habitat finished up so we can keep them nice and happy. You see, each animal in
Oh,
the zoo
dear,
has
that
an
is funny.
overall welfare statistic, basically how happy they are. And that overall welfare statistic is itself comprised of 4 different areas: nutrition, social health, habitat,
I should be
and
listening to her really, shouldn't I?
enrichment.
But
Luckily, if you
I'm just gonna
select
be
an
giggle.
animal, you'll bring up their animal welfare information panel, which we saw earlier, where you can see how they're doing. That way, you'll know exactly what areas need to be addressed. Don't worry if that's a lot to remember. You can always check the Zoopedia for more information.
okay, so come on, warthog, hungry and thirsty. Okay, so we need to place
Let's start by
food.
making sure we're taking care of the warthog's nutrition welfare.
Have they
To do
got grass
this,
so
we'll
they can
need
see
to
them?
place a
Yeah.
food station and a drinking station. Now, each animal requires a different type of feeding station. And for the warthogs, it's a small feeding trough. So let's add one of those and a water bowl.
We've done that. Add toy enrichment.
Animals also require stimulation to keep them happy. Let's add a lovely mud bath for the warthogs to roll around in. That bath will count towards their enrichment welfare, specifically their toy enrichment welfare. Oh, nice work. You've got a knack for this, I see. Now, our contractor had to leave in a hurry, so this place is in a pharaoh's state. Unfinished thingamajigs and whatsits all over the shop. But the first thing we need to finish is the ostrich habitat. It's over near the hippos.
Okay, so now we've got to go and find the hippo enclosure, which is this one over here. Okay, let's see.
Before we actually start building our ostrich habitat, let's pause time for a moment.
So it'd be the same as
That's more like
Planet
it.
Coaster.
A quick break.
I see.
Sometimes it's a good idea to pause the game whilst you're doing something which requires your concentration, because it'll stop the zoo spinning out of control while you're looking the other way. Let's keep the game paused while we get this ostrich habitat built. Okay.
So obviously
Job
then
number
we
one
got it.
here is to add a habitat gate before we complete the barrier. Every habitat needs a habitat gate. After all, how else would the keepers get in and out? Just make sure it's hooked up to the path so the keepers can reach it.
So we've got to place a habitat gate here, which, yeah, we'll just
Right.
pop
Let's
in there.
complete the perimeter barrier so we can adopt us some ostriches. I've marked out an area for you to use, so I'd like you to finish off the perimeter using the brick barrier.
Christ, that's about as straight as an ostrich's hind leg, but never mind. Hey? Wait, can we... What happened there? Come on. I want... Hey? Oh. Yeah, I want to go down here. Oh, come on, I wish I could build straight. Oh, Christ, I don't even... Okay, I
Good
messed that up
work.
completely.
Remember, before you can place animals in any habitat, it has to have a full loop of connected barrier. Now, you've probably noticed that guests can't actually see into this habitat at the moment. At least not without a stepladder. But seeing as they're banned, I'd like you to select a piece of barrier and swap out the brick for a glass barrier, so the guests can see in. There we go. Adding in more windows gives guests even more opportunities to see the animals in a habitat. It's always best to make sure the guests can get a good view into a habitat from the path they're walking on, because it makes them happy, and because this would be a pretty terrible zoo if they couldn't. The last thing we need to do is to add a donation box. You see, when guests enjoy the view of an animal, they'll make a donation. Just make sure you put them in easy-to-reach places, like near a viewing point. Donation boxes are one of the main sources of income for the zoo, so make sure you remember them.
It'd be nice if we could put it like there, yeah.
Before we adopt our ostriches, you should unpause time. After all, if time's paused, then so are our caretakers, which will make it a bit tricky for them to deliver the ostriches. Oh, by the way, as well as pausing time, you can also speed it up. It'll run everything at 2 times and 5 times faster. It can be useful, especially if you're waiting for money to accumulate or for
So
animals
what we're
to
going
be
to do now,
delivered to a
guys, is we're going to
habitat.
put 4 ostriches in here.
Personally, I use it when I'm waiting for a brew to finish. All right, you've finished the habitat, so it's high time we adopted those ostriches, don't you think? Let's get 4 of them in here.
Now, there is a way you can send all 4 to the zoo, and I can't remember if somebody told me how. Because otherwise you've got to send them all at once. Aha! That's it. There we go.
While we wait for them to be collected by the caretakers and brought to the habitat, you should get it ready for them. Add a suitable feeding station, water station, and an appropriate food enrichment item. It's often best to place things like enrichments and feeding stations near to the habitat perimeter, so guests can get a really good view of the animals.
There we go. And that's the bronze objectives
Good to see
completed.
the ostriches have somewhere
Here he
they
goes
can
with the
really
ostrich.
stretch their legs. Did you
Oh
know
dear, oh dear.
they can actually run at 43 miles per hour? Oh, heaven forbid they ever escape. The speed camera fines alone would bankrupt us.
Well, Bernie certainly seems impressed. Did you do his speed camera joke? Every time we get an ostrich. So, now we've made the ostriches' lives a bit better, let's do the same for the keepers, shall we? To make it easier for the keepers to feed the ostriches and hippos, we should build a new keeper hut. Keeper huts are where the keepers prepare the food for animals, so they should be placed near to the habitats to make sure the keepers don't waste their time walking when they should
Okay, so
be
we've got to
looking
place
after
down
the
a-
animals. You'll need to rotate the keeper hut to get it to connect up to the path.
There we go.
This keeper hut only has space for 1 keeper, but the larger keeper hut can allow multiple keepers to prepare food at the same time. Oh, but bear in mind that keeper huts and other staff facilities shouldn't be placed near to areas where there are lots of guests. Guests don't like seeing facility buildings, and it can affect their happiness. Negatively. In case that wasn't clear. Something that all facilities, shops, and a whole host of other objects need is power. And that obviously includes your newly built keeper hut. So let's place a transformer next to it, shall we?
Now we're going to place the transformer.
Lovely work.
There we
Now
go.
the keepers can start using the hut to prepare food, and thanks to where you've put it, they won't need to walk very far to deliver it to the ostriches and hippos. Let's get on to your next objective then. Bengal tigers. We want to adopt some, but I'm afraid there's nothing ready for them yet. Head on over to the plot of land I've marked out. It's not too far away.
It's right here.
Righty, your next job is to build a habitat from scratch. And concrete and glass, I expect. So go ahead and build it. Just make sure that the habitat includes that big hole we've dug. Oh, and don't forget to add a habitat gate to the barrier. Oh, and make sure the guests will be able to see the tigers.
Okay, so it looks like we are putting some glass down first. We're going to put a whole row of glass. So that people can see. From the front. Yes, the fence is going to be a bit screw-with, but I do apologise. Oh Christ, yeah, I gotta put a gate in. Whoops. Barrier gate can be there.
Now, Bernie takes safety very seriously at his zoos, so we should probably make sure those tigers can't jump out of their habitat, don't you think? The way we'll do it is by changing the height of the habitat's barrier. Okay then, let's select the habitat barrier and then jump into barrier editing mode.
How do I...
Great! Now highlight the entire perimeter of the habitat. You can do that by selecting fence segments one by one, or select one and hold to use the multi-select mode. Now that the habitat is in place, don't forget to put down a donation box near to your viewing areas.
Oh yeah.
We need every dollar we can get. Especially as these tigers aren't exactly eating instant noodles for lunch.
Put it on the corner there.
Okay, that's the habitat boundary complete, the habitat gate in place, and most importantly, the tigers won't be able to jump out of it anymore. I think it's time we adopted those tigers.
What do you reckon that hole's dug in there? I reckon let's put water in.
whilst our trusty caretakers collect and deliver the tigers, let's take a look at preparing the habitat for their arrival. We'll start with the basics. Add a suitable feeding station for them. This time, instead of adding a water bowl, let's try something different. Some animals need a pool in their habitat so they can go for a swim, but they can also use it to drink from. All you have to do is make sure the banks of the pool have a gentle slope so they can easily get a nice, refreshing drink. There's already a pool excavated, but you still need to fill it with water. You should do that by going into Terrain and selecting the water tool. Yes, that'll do nicely. Of course, just like the warthogs and ostriches, these tigers will also need some enrichment. Why don't you add some suitable toy and food enrichment items into their habitat?
I like the fact they're going to be carrying a blooming tiger, which is... Oh Christ, there's one.
Okay, it's really starting to take shape. Now, the tigers will need a shelter in their habitat so they can hide from the guests, or more likely, the bad weather. Although given that we're in England, you might want to think of that just as normal weather. Go on, add a shelter to their habitat. You can either build one from various suitable bits and bobs, or if you like, just pop down the blueprint that I've already built for you.
Okay.
Oh, poor Dabs. I'm sure it can't have escaped your attention that the tigers look a bit miffed. That's because they aren't too keen on the type of terrain in their habitat. Select a tiger and bring up its information panel.
Okay, so, what do we need to do?
Rightio. Head over to the Terrain tab. That way you can view the terrain information and see how they feel about different types of terrain. That'll tell you what the tigers need more of or less of in this habitat. Okay then, open the Terrain editing tool, select Painting, and give them some more soil. Yes, that should help with the habitat part of their welfare.
The animal needs more soil. Which means they need less long grass. Soil's fine. They need more grass short. So then what we need to do is come out of that, go into grass short, and that will take out the grass long that these guys need. Obviously don't go over your pool. And obviously they need a bit more rock. But now you've taken out their soil. It's all about getting...
Right then. All
There we
animals
go.
need plants and trees from their own biome or continent. You know, deserts, savannas, or Asia, Europe, that sort of thing. It looks like these tigers need a few more plants in their habitat. To get a perfect fit, use plants from the rainforest and temperate biomes that are native to Asia. Although if you have to, you can get away with using just one or the other. The tigers will also want a certain amount of their habitat to be covered by those plants. To find out which plants to use and how many, select a tiger and go to the Environment tab. Now, as you can see, some of the plants currently in the habitat aren't quite right for the tiger, like the wattle bushes. You can remove them if you want. You can find all of the plants you need in the nature section, and you can use the filters to only show the types of plants you want to see. In this case, that's plants from the rainforest or temperate biomes.
Sounds like common reeds, Bengal bamboo. Still need a bit more. Maybe a coconut palm. Maybe a bit more bamboo. Might be covering it just a little bit too much. Tell you what, these lions are. This is tricky. I don't know what these tigers want. I mean, how many more plants can I put in? I'm just putting plants down left, right and centre, and these tigers are just not. How do you delete something? I don't want to delete that. Ah, there we go. I haven't really thought about this, have I? At all. It was on 89, so... I don't expect that... There we go!
They say that good fences make good neighbors. I guess that's doubly true when one of the neighbors is a Bengal tiger. Still, those tigers look so happy that I doubt they'd leave, even if you did poke a hole in their fence. Oh, but for heaven's sake, don't test that theory.
Fair enough. Right, we'll complete the gold, and then we'll call it a day on this episode.
I've been told that we need to improve their social welfare.
Okay, let's head on over then to the Indian peafowls while they're in.
Now then,
Ooh.
Just find one of the peafowls and select them to open an information panel. Then we can have a good gander at how they're doing. Although technically, I suppose gandering would just be for geese.
There they are. Beautiful creatures.
Expand their social welfare, and we can get a bit more detail.
Okay.
Now, they've clearly got plenty of space, and they're not stressed, but it looks like their social group isn't quite right. So let's find out more. Head over to the social tab to see what's wrong.
They need more adults, so we need to adopt
Right,
and
as you can
place
see, the peafowls need their
3
population
new
to be larger.
Indian
To solve this little
peafowls.
problem, you'll need to adopt 3 more female peafowls.
There you go,
Off you
this
pop
dog's
to the
bonking
animal market then.
downstairs. Don't worry, I'll try and edit that out. So there's 3 new Indian peafowls. Coming.
Good work on those peafowls. I expect they'll be delivered soon. But sadly, it sounds like our snow leopard is a bit grumpy. Let's head over there and see what's wrong with her.
A snow leopard, right over the other side.
Just like people,
It's really cool,
animals
though.
can suffer from
I really like
stress
this.
if things aren't quite right. You know, like when you see someone put in the milk before the tea bag. In the case of these snow leopards, they're a bit stressed by their lack of privacy. You can lower their stress levels by swapping out the normal glass barrier by their cave for one-way glass. It's not a cheap option, but I think they're worth the expense, don't you? This will give the snow leopards somewhere to go when they want to get away from the prying eyes of the guests.
Okay, how do I swap this out and swap? So you want to
Of
swap
course,
it
when
out
an
for one-way
animal
glass?
isn't in its natural biome, it's probably going to be too hot or too cold. Unsurprisingly for the snow leopards, it's too hot. Even with the terrible British weather. You should help cool it down by adding some coolers to their habitat. But let's start by opening up the temperature heat map and having a look-see at the temperature in the leopard's habitat.
Oh, crumbs, yeah.
As you can see, we already have one cooler in there. Let's pop some more down and get as much of the habitat as chilly as we can. Luckily for us, this habitat already has power, but you'll need to make sure of that in the future. Just so you know, if any part of a habitat is powered, then the whole habitat will be powered.
Okay, so we put 3 coolers down. Probably stick one there, one there, and
You
one
can
there.
find heat maps for all sorts of helpful things, so do be sure to explore them and make good use of them. It'll take a little while for the temperature to adjust once you've added coolers or heaters, but now we've got the coolers in, we can address the leopard's terrain welfare. You see, what the leopards really want in here is snow and rock, so let's make that happen.
Well, what we want to do, the leopard's just climbed up the bloody tree, so I can't... So I can't really see where this blooming leopard is. I think she's up in the tree. Anyway, let's make it snowy and rocky in here then. Apparently what they want is snow and rock. Ooh! Did she just come down? Ah! Right. Where's the terrain? Right. Snow's too much. No, animal needs more snow. So the animal needs more snow. So we'll give it more snow. And the snow's at 20%. The rock's fine. Animal needs more long grass. We ain't got enough snow now. It's difficult to get the terrains right. It is very difficult to get the terrains right. So, I think what we do is we take this bit out and we just snow one area. If we take all the snow out, where does that leave us? Apparently this animal needs long grass, right? Now if this animal needs long grass, then why does it need so much snow? This is what I don't get. How much long grass does this animal need? Needs less long grass now. Oh. I was doing it the wrong way. It needs more snow. Well, it is a snow leopard, I suppose. Christ.
Well then, all of that should give you a pretty good understanding of how to make animals happy. So I'd like you to go and check on all the other animals in the zoo and fix up any issues with their habitats. That'll increase the average welfare of the animals across the whole zoo.
That's it for today's episode. Join me next time when we go on more adventures here on Planet Zoo. Don't forget, guys, as well to like and subscribe. Also, go and check out my merch in the shop, which I'll put in the link in the description below.
Not bad at all. I think it's fair to say that you've passed the first part of your training with flying colours. There's still lots more to learn, but we'll have to head to another one of Bernie's zoos for that. If you want to grab your passport, we'll head off, shall we?
That's it for episode 1, guys. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you.
Sounds like
Next
you got
time.
the whole zoo purring away nicely.
Actually, let's just listen to Bernie
purring,
first.
grunting, screaming, booming. All the appropriate noises. I guess I was right to hire you, huh? Don't tell her I told you, but Nancy wasn't sure you'd even last the morning. So, we're happy this is working out. And Nancy owes me a Foxy coffee. As strange as it seems, considering we just met, when I look at you, I feel like you're the child I never had. After the one I did have, obviously. But you see, zookeeping's not for my daughter. Don't get me wrong. Emma absolutely loves animals, but she set her sights somewhat higher. Wants to save the entire planet. I'll just settle for saving a couple of species. And maybe having a type of frog named after me.
Well, guys, we will see you in the next one. I'm Ben James. Thank you for joining me.